Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time we circle back to something that we have seen before, as many of these upcoming episodes will. We're going to go back to things that we've seen before very quickly to show you different variations on them that we haven't seen before, but without necessarily having to go into detail on the heavy content of any of them. This time we are circling back to something we saw quite a while ago, and that is a release of Droids from J2 Communications back in 1990. Specifically, in this case, we are looking at the special double-length edition, Volume 1, that includes the episodes The White Witch and Escape into Terror. We have seen this one from the United States before. Okay, we have the logo stuff up here, right? Star Wars Trilogy Animated Collection, Droids, The Adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO, the image, the title of the episodes with Volume 1, special double-length edition down here. That was our spine. We'll look at these momentarily. And then the actual cassette. Mine's a little tight in here. There's a logo there with J2 Communications. Okay. Well, actually quite a while ago, it's been long enough that it was sitting on my shelf that somehow it just kind of got overlooked in putting episode lists of upcoming topics together. A while back, Walker and Christina Langstrom provided me with an interesting twist on this, which is a release from the same general region, but instead of being from the United States, it was from Canada, and that meant a different distributor. So we're going to look at this, very subtle differences with it physically. As far as video goes, this particular release is basically identical to the American one. The only difference is when you plop it in, it shows a Nova Entertainment logo, which then becomes a Nova Home Video logo, then a JR, and then underneath Junior Home Video logo, then just, a regular warning, and then it goes into what you would expect, right? The trailer that shows the double-length editions there for Droids, just like we saw on the US double-length editions, and then the J2 Communications logo, and then straight into the program. So it's really just the logos at the beginning, the Nova Entertainment / Home Video logo, and the Junior or JR Home Video logo before it just moves into the typical stuff that you'd see on the American release. What's interesting is that it was really more about subtleties, not just in the actual programming, but on the packaging itself that sort of differentiated these. Okay, so we have here, same top, same titles, Volume 1 with the same titles. This does have a little thing where there was a price tag sticker at some point, a little bit faded, but this is original, same artwork and everything, special double-length edition down here. If we place these side by side, package-wise, you can sort of see the differences here. So here, we have the spines. So at the top, you have J2 Communication Children's, except on the Canadian one, we have the product number above it. Then C-3PO and R2-D2, followed by the title. And then on the American one, it's the product number then with VHS, Hi-Fi, Stereo. Whereas for the Canadian one, that's where it says Volume 1. There's no Volume 1 anywhere on the side for the American one. VHS, except just as VHS, not the little kind of cool logo with the box around it. And then the distributor there, JR or Junior Home Video. Okay. So fronts that are essentially identical, sides that are similar but not exactly the same, and then backs that as well are going to be very, very similar here. You have your tagline, names of the episodes with information about them, information about the other special double-length editions here. The text next to those double-length editions essentially the same, and all the copyright at the bottom essentially the same. All they really have done is on the US version has J2 Communications logo and then their contact information, their address. But if you look over on the Canadian one, J2 Communications has its logo, but then there's no address because they needed a space to put the Junior Home Video logo there. So very similar in design, as you would expect, but yes, subtle differences, even within this market. Usually you didn't see a lot of differences, unless you were talking about language differences on the packaging between American and Canadian releases, at least in the ones that we have taken a look at. I'm sure there's more variation out there. I'm not an expert by any means on Canadian Star Wars home video releases, but it's cool here to see that packaging-wise, at least, it was a very subtle difference, as there was also just only a very subtle difference in the actual release itself, the actual content of the release. The biggest difference really comes down to the labels, and I wonder if this one, because it used to be, I think it was a former rental, I wonder if the label has been replaced. This is the American one, right? So you've got Star Wars Trilogy Animated Collection, Droids Volume 1, names of the episodes, runtime, J2 Communications, legalese, warning, more copyright stuff down at the bottom. This is the Canadian one right here. Now, I'm assuming this is the original. It could have been replaced. The presence of the logo makes me think probably not. Okay, but it says the Star Wars Trilogy Droids - or hyphen Volume 1. I'm assuming that's a internal reference number that somebody just wrote on there in pen. Approximately 60 minutes. Warning, Junior Home Video, Calgary, Alberta. And then the Junior Home Video logo down there in the corner. So a very different looking label for Canada. Junior Home Video gets to take the spotlight, which makes sense. They're the distributor up there. No J2 Communications anywhere on this label. Again, assuming it is the legit original label, which I believe that it is. I lean that direction, but it was a former rental, so we always kind of have to take that with at least a little bit of a grain of salt. So a fun little addition here. I always think it's kind of cool to see differences from region to region, especially when it's sort of all usually thought of as one region, but there are differences between specific countries within it. Kind of like, if we looked at, say, the EU, and we looked at regional differences between, say, France or Germany. I almost said the UK, but not anymore. That's a whole other Brexity thing. But thank you very much to the Langstrats for providing this one. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's very cool to have another Canadian item, especially one with some subtle differences here and a big difference on the label within my Star Wars home video library. So with that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.